Here's Goodnight Olive making her move to take the lead by a head around the far turn. Race Kane has nearly 10 lengths to make up, so does Scooby Guando, verifying the leader. Top of the stretch, Capit Trice is coming onto the outside. Up to the mark is running late behind Master of the Seas. Set piece down the center of the course. Master of the Seas alongside Annapolis. Here's Elusive Princess coming after Maj, and Mission of Joy tries to find room between that pair. Maj has the lead. Mission of Joy second, Elusive Princess third. The champ in front. Goodnight Olive chased all the way. Capit Trice! Capit Trice wins the Toyota Bluegrass.
And welcome in, everyone, to the Keeneland Look Ahead podcast. I'm Jeremy Plonk from Horse Player Now, and it's good to be back. It's the 33rd consecutive meet. I'm working with Keeneland. That dates back to 2008, 16 plus years now. This is about our fourth or fifth meet where we're doing the Keeneland Look Ahead podcast, 8:30 Eastern each night before the next day's races. So hopefully you will join us each and every night as we preview a full card, usually about 30 to 45 minutes for the length of the podcast, somewhat long form, if you will, but we'll get through all the races. We'll talk about the stats and trends and what to look for. That's my specialty, of course. If you follow at Keeneland.com, you know, in the expert handicappers section, I provide stats and trends on each and every race. We'll go over some of those verbally during the course of this broadcast each night. But for more detail on that, be sure to check it out at Keeneland.com. And of course, the Handicappers consensus page at Keeneland.com will have all of my top choices, top three in each and every race. We update those on race days for scratches, for weather changes, surface changes. So you always want to refer back to that as well for final selections. Also there with the Handicappers selection boxes, we'll review throughout the course of these podcasts. You'll get to see the picks, too, of the other public handicappers at Keeneland. Gives us a good sense of how the public may go with betting races, where we might be on long shots that nobody else is on. So we'll talk about that here as we get set over the next few minutes. A big weekend here at Keeneland. First post 1 o'clock for Friday's card. 3 stakes races on the 10-race program coming up on Friday. We will review how the card lines up with all the different wager types. A reminder, the daily double bets at Keeneland here in 2024 are a reduced takeout down to 15%. So daily doubles are a really good play. And if you have cards where you think favorites look pretty strong, daily doubles are your best friend. Try to pair up winners and don't take short-priced exactas in smaller fields. Work multi-races, from A to B across the different races. And you'll see I've got some favorites that I like, but we're going to try to leverage them on this Friday card by utilizing bets like the daily double. Stakes races on the card. The Phoenix Stakes will go as race 7, the Jessamine in race 8, and the Alcibiades will be race number 9. We'll also get a chance throughout the course of the meet to listen in to some of the top horsemen at Keeneland through interviews conducted by Tom Leach and company with the Keeneland social media team. Tonight, we'll hear from John Ortiz, who's got one of the starters in the Alcibiades Stakes. So stick around when we get to race number 9. We'll have that video for you as he's got quiet side in the Alcibiades. And we thank Tom for all of those contributions throughout the course of the season. Okay, so if you've been on this podcast before, you kind of know how it works. There are 2 main graphic screens that we refer to throughout the show, and helps keep us balanced. Also keeps me off camera a little bit too. It helps in that regard, but helps us follow the program throughout. Let's look at the snapshot of the card. This is the way the races line up 1 through 10 on the program here coming up on Friday. The pick 5 starts in race number 1, the early pick 5. In race number 2, an early pick 4 is going to start. So if you're new to the podcast or need a refresher, when we list the wager there, that's the start of a new wager. The Keeneland Turf Pick 3, we denote all 3 of those races for you because those aren't consecutive races. So races 5, 8, and 10 will be part of the Keeneland Turf Pick 3. Now, my key plays, I always say you've got to have 2 or 3 key plays on any card. The worst thing you can do as a gambler is bet the same amount on every race, on every opinion that you have. You have strong opinions, you have weak opinions. You have to have a couple keys on a card where you're going to put more of your wagering dollars on. That's why we identify 3 key plays on every card. There was kind of a borderline 4th key play, but I try to keep it at 3 here. Some days it's hard to get the 3, and I'm always honest with you when I I say I really only have 2 key plays, but I added a third in here. So I think there might be a fourth, and that'd be the last race on the card as we look back at the snapshot of the program. And we'll keep referring back to this. The key plays for me will come up in races 3, 5, and 8. 5 and 8 are both part of the Keeneland Turf Pick 3. And I said the other race that might be a key play for me is the 10th. Well, that's part of the Keeneland Turf Pick 3. So why do we do this? Why do we put the graphics up like that? You should be doing the same kind of game planning when you set up your race day. Because for me, when my key plays fall in that Keeneland Turf Pick 3, that tells me that's the bet I need to be making. So the $3 minimum Keeneland Turf Pick 3, another low takeout wager, this looks good to me. On some days, I won't have any strong opinions, or there'll be big favorites in particular multi-race sequences like the Turf Pick 3, and they won't be for me on that particular day. So the way opening day lines up, 2 key plays, and maybe my extra key play all come in the Keeneland Turf Pick 3. So you can already see how I'm going to start strategizing my day. Hopefully you'll do the same kind of game planning. Don't follow my picks per se. I mean, hopefully we do well for you. We've had winning meets where our top pick posted a profit, a positive ROI, 3 of the last 4 meets at Keeneland. We got absolutely buried the meet before last. Last meet we had a profit. 2 meets ago we were awful. The 2 prior to that we were profitable. So 3 out of 4 we're on a pretty good roll in that regard. But take your own picks and your own strategies. But when it comes to game planning and trying to set up, I think that's where I can be most helpful for you. So again, back to this one more time to the snapshot of the card. The stakes races, as we said, will be races 7, 8, and 9. Toyota Super High 5 is a once a day wager. You got to pick the top 5 finishers in a given race. If nobody hits the top 5 in race number 10, that will carry over the next day. And again, a reminder, rolling daily doubles, rolling pick 3s go on throughout the card. Now, the other graphic that we like to talk about, I mentioned the Keeneland Handicappers Consensus at Keeneland.com. This is free every day. It's on the app as well. But here are the top 3 picks in each and every race from the 5 public handicappers. And I'll put it up on the screen here to start out. Scott Hazelton kicks off on the left, Tom Leach, myself in the middle, Gabby Gaudet, and then Kim Nelson wraps it up. The 5 of us have been in the handicapper selectors box for several years now. And the one thing about this box it tells me is when I read it left to right, you know, how many horses do we have on top in a particular race? For example, race number 1, 7 is top pick for Scott, 6 for Tom, 5 for me, 5 for Gabby, 6 for Kim. So there are 3 different horses in this race picked on top. It doesn't necessarily lend itself to the opinion that it's going to be a seriously heavy favorite. If we get a race where 4 out of 5 picks or all 5 picks will happen on occasion, we all end up with the same horse, that's probably going to tell you that's a race where there's going to be a lot of favorites. Not that the people would follow the public handicappers so much. I say that when we all agree on a horse, that doesn't mean that, everybody's going to say, the experts like this particular horse, so we're all going to bet on it. The idea is if 5 people walk through the grandstand and all 5 like the same horse, probably you're not unique in liking them. So it's going to be that kind of situation. If you went and sampled along the rail and said, who do you like? And 5 people in a row told you the 2 horse, you're probably not going to get 10-1 on the 2 horse, right? You can assume that just looking at that sample size, it gives you a little bit of consensus the way the public may go. That's why we show those picks in order as we go throughout the night. And sometimes we'll find a situation like I'll have the only horse in the race picked on top or even in the top 3. And we have that situation coming up in race number 2 on Friday. And then I feel like I'm on the island, as I like to say. I'm the only one who likes this particular horse. It gives me confidence in that I'm going to get a big price. If nobody else mentions the horse anywhere in the top 3, there's probably a good chance that the betting public won't as well. And therefore, we can look ahead and say, this is what the look ahead is all about. Where are my prices going to be on this particular card? If I know I'm going to get a price, I want to make sure I've got my budget lined up accordingly and I'm strategizing right. Okay, enough talk. Enough setup here. We're about 9 minutes in. We'll get to the picks quicker and the races quicker in upcoming shows. But for the first night, I want to kind of set the table for everybody. Large crowd already gathering here. I can see on the live viewers and big numbers that we get in the archives. Again, if you don't catch this live every night, we debut 8:30. We premiere at 8:30 Eastern each night. If you don't catch it live, you can get it in the archives. Watch on X at Keeneland Racing or at Horse Player Now. Same on the same with the Keeneland fan page on YouTube and also the Horse Player Now page on YouTube. You can get the recap of this all the way up through as the meet goes. So let's get handicapping here, shall we? Let's start things off at Keeneland. Let's start things in race number 1. It's going to kick off the early pick 5. Early pick 5 here, the first 5 on the card. Non-winners and 2 lifetime claimers in this one. And this is a race where, the favorites have had a little bit of success. They're about 38% winning favorites, 15 out of 38. A good percentage of winning favorites here for this kind of condition. That means these races have been fairly formful. People can handicap them. They're not crazy. We're going to talk about some races that really set up for long shots moving forward. But non-winners and 2 claimer during the fall meet, they're pretty cut and dry type races. So I'm not looking to get too far off the public in this particular spot. In fact, I'm right with the public in race number 1. I'm going with the 5 in here, Burning Hot. Also the top pick in here for Gabby. Picked across the way by a couple of the others on underling type picks. I don't know if it'll be 9-5 as the morning line suggests, but comes off a win last time out at Churchill Downs going the 1-turn mile. Now stretches out to a mile and a 16th. I've always liked that handicapping angle. Go from a 1-turn mile to a mile and a 16th at Keeneland. Remember, a mile and a 16th races like this one at Keeneland will finish at the 16th pole finish line. So a horse doesn't have to have full stamina through the stretch when they're tired and gassed. They just need to get to the 16th pole. How far is the 16th of a mile? 110 yards. So it's basically one less football field to the wire than they would in a race that goes all the way to the traditional finish line. It's still a mile and a 16th, but it's easier to achieve. And that's why I like this horse is stretching out from the 1-turn miles on occasion. Churchill Preppers also do extremely well in these races for non-winners of 2 lifetime. They've had 14 of the 38 wins in these situations. Those are the kind of trends I like to look at. No other circuits produce more than 5 winners. So I'm looking for the Churchill horses in here. I also got the Churchill shipper, Ask Arthur, horse who's 6-1 in the morning line, could provide a little bit more value. But give me Burning Hot, Ask Arthur, the 2 horses from Churchill. I think they'll be the ones to beat in race number 1. Now let's move to the second race on the card. We get through the first leg of the pick 5. We kick off the early pick 4 in race number 2. This is a mile maiden special weight here for 2-year-olds on the turf. Now, we talked about race number 1 where favorites do pretty well in the non-winners of 2 lifetime claimers here at Keeneland in the fall. Race number 2 for the 2-year-old two-year-old turf maiden special weights. The average winner is 9.25 to 1, 9.25 to 1. That's over a $21 mutual. So you can get a price in races like race number 2. And we've had 77 of them in fall meets going back into our database that we helped Keeneland create back in 2008. So there's a decent sample size here with 77 such races. Last fall, we ran 8 of these races during the fall meet. Favorites went 0 for 8. So you can shop around for a price, and this is why I get one of my long shot plays. I don't call this horse a key play of the day because I don't have major confidence in him, but I'm going with the long shot price in here in race number 2, and I'm on the island. Nobody else is touching the 11 in here. Major Mischief. The career debut was terrible, right? This horse ran once at Kentucky Downs, trailed the field throughout, but jockey Jose Ortiz sticks for Bill Mott. That's a good sign. The horse was only 9-1 in an 11-horse field, had a little bit of backing at the first asking, a good bullet workout since then. But the key here is a pedigree play. The second dam, which is the maternal grandmother of this horse, is Lily Langtree. She was a multiple Group 1 winner in Europe, millionaire. This is a regal pedigree for the turf. Buy Into Mischief. Into Mischiefs actually do very well on the turf course here at Keeneland. They do exceptionally well on the dirt as well, but they're really good on the turf as well. I just think there's a turf pedigree there. I like Jose Ortiz riding back from Mont. I'm going to give Major Mischief at 20-1 morning line a shot in here in race number 2. I'm on the island as we look at the picks for the other handicappers. This isn't a major confident play, but this is a profile of a race that gives you long shots historically. We've got a good pedigree angle, certainly Ortiz and Mott and what we see, from this horse. If this horse, Major Mischief, was a first-time starter, the price might be 8, 10, 12 to 1. The one bad race on the form jumps the price up perhaps as high as 20 to 1 in the morning line. As for the other handicappers here, West Beach, the 8, the horse I've got picked second, a logical expected favorite in here, 5 to 2 in the morning line. Second beaten just a neck in the juvenile mile at Kentucky Downs last time for Brendan Walsh. This one's going to take some beating, but again, historically, the favorites have not had a lot of success in this race. Just 22 for 77 over the years and 0 for 8 last fall in these kind of situations. I like the Kentucky Downs horses, so West Beach does come from Kentucky Downs in this particular spot, but I'm going to try to beat him, but I do respect West Beach. If you're playing the multi-race wagers like the pick 4 and the pick 5, you absolutely use the 8 in here as well. The 3 test score looks good coming out of the with anticipation stakes. Graham Motion hasn't had a lot of success with these 2-year-old turfers, though. As good as Graham Motion is, and he's an outstanding turf trainer, he has not had any success at all. 0 for 26, according to the numbers I was able to look up in 2-year-old turf route maiden specials here in the fall. So Motion, that's not his forte with test score here, but I think test score looks good to maybe hit the board. If I'm in the multi-race wagers, and I will be, I'm using my top pick in here at a big price. You got to get win place money on a horse like that who's potentially 20 to 1. But then I also use the 8 in there, West Beach. I'd be too deep in the multi-race wagers as I look to strategize in race number 2. As for the other handicappers across the way, test score gets a little bit of love from Gabby in there. West Beach top pick for Kim and Scott. Scorpius, the top pick in here for Tom Leach, first-time starter for trainer Brad Cox. Again, Into Mischief does really well with the horses on the Keeneland turf. Positive ROI, 19% winners on the Keeneland turf for Into Mischief. So that first-time starter Scorpius on the grass at Keeneland will certainly probably appreciate the footing if he's ready to run. That's being Tom's top pick. Now let's go to race number 3. It's the first of my key plays. I got a long shot play in the second, but I'm not wildly confident about it. I am more confident, though, in what I'm looking at here in race number 3, and this is going to be my first key play of the day. We've got a couple horses here coming out of 1-turn miles out of the Wilson chute at Saratoga that I think are going to fit extremely well in this 7 furlong maiden special. Horses cutting back from 1-turn miles do really good in these particular spots, and I've got 2 of them here. The 6 Lord I Wonder, 5 to 1 in the morning line, and also the 9 Islander, who's even a bigger price in the morning line. So the 6 and the 9 are 2 horses that I really want to get some action on in this particular spot. And as you look across, there's not a lot of love for those 2, right? Lord I Wonder gets a couple underling pulls. Islander gets one other mention from the other handicappers. So I think we're going to be able to hold our price in here, because if you look at this across the way, it's all about Upon a Star, right? The 11 horses picked on top by Scott, by Tom, by Gabby, by Kim. This tells you this horse is going to be a very strong favorite. It's Brad Cox. It's a horse who's 9 to 5 in the morning line. That makes a lot of sense, no doubt about it. Brad Cox does well with these maiden special weight 3 and up older horses in the fall meet, but this horse hasn't run since February, and we'll see if he's able to go first time back. There aren't a lot of horses who have had success in these races over the fall, or in the fall in past meets, coming off of long layoffs. I like to run these stats through the Handicappers database. It's a spreadsheet that you can download at Keeneland.com and look through all the different scenarios. I found 57 races for older 3 and ups here, going 7 furlongs in maiden special in the fall meets in the past. And of those 57 races, only 8 of the winners did not race before August. So coming off layoffs of July or sooner, 5 horses in this race have been off at least that long. So 7 furlongs is a tough, demanding distance. It has a little common sense behind the numbers. It's hard to win these kind of races off of long layoffs. So I'm going to take a shot against Upon a Star, who's the big favorite in here, and I'm going to take 2 chances, and I'm going to go all in. I'm throwing Upon a Star out when we talk about multi-race wagers. I'm going to use the 2 horses turning back from those pseudo 1-turn miles out of the Wilson chute up there at Saratoga. Give me the 6, give me the 9 in race number 3, that being one of my key plays of the day. Now, we got key plays in races 3 and 5. What do we do next with race number 4? Race number 4 is a situation where I do think the favorite looks too strong. This is a Brad Cox trainee who I think is going to win at a short price. So we're going to utilize those low takeout daily doubles from races 3 to 4, and then we'll also use race 4 to race 5 in daily doubles with our other key play of the day. You see, when you map things out and you know where your key plays are, how do you bridge them together? 3 and 5 in orange are key plays. How do I get between 2 races that I really like? The 4th race on the card looks like it has almost a free space, that being the 6 Eclatant. I don't think they're going to touch this horse. I'm kind of surprised that only 3 of the 5 handicappers honestly put this horse on top. Eclatant's picked in in the top 3 by everybody. But Tis Purple, the 11, my second choice in here, does get the top call from 2 different handicappers. This one coming out of the Spinaway Stakes for Jorge Delgado up at Saratoga. But Eclatant was very impressive last time out in the first career start at Churchill Downs. Now, this one's off since June, and you say you didn't like Brad Cox off a February layoff in the last race. Why do you like him in this particular spot? This is an allowance race, not a maiden special. Maidens should be running if they're fit and fine. Allowance horses have to wait for conditions and races to come up that will fill in the condition book. Eclatant hasn't run since June, but when Brad Cox runs horses in these 2-year-old allowance races in the fall at Churchill, he's 3 for 4 with the horses who are coming off longer layoffs like this. I think this horse is going to be fit, ready to go, and should be tough to beat by another one by Into Mischief, who could have a big front half of the card. So I don't think they're going to touch Eclatant. I probably talk way too much about a horse who's 6 to 5 in the morning line, but I'm just trying to show you this is a 6 furlong allowance race versus that 7 furlong maiden race. So it's not you throw out all layoff horses in all scenarios. You think about them strategically and why a horse is laid off and what the assignment is on the comeback. This one looks to be a lot more achievable to me in race number 4 than the Cox horse coming off the layoff in race number 3. So I'm on here, this horse in this race. All I'm going to do in race number 4 is try to get into the race with the daily double, try to hit those 2, the 6 and 9 in race 3 to the 6 horse here in race 4. And then I'm going to turn around in race number 4 and play the double 6 to my top plates in the next race. So I'm just going to try to use race number 4 kind of as a conduit to get through things. And also in the multi-race wagers, pick 4, pick 5. If you're playing those wagers, I think Eclatant is a single for me in race number 4. To the 5th we go. The race number 5 has got a lot cooking in terms of multi-race wagers. It's going to end the early pick 5. It's going to end the early pick 4, right? Those races starting in races 1 and 2. It's going to kick off the pick 6, $1 pick 6 at Keeneland. No jackpot provision, no regular $1 pick 6 at Keeneland. And then the Keeneland Turf pick 3, the $3 minimum low takeout Turf pick 3 will be races 5, 8, and 10 and starts right here. I like that I have a key play in this particular race because there's a lot cooking. And my key play in this race is going to be number 12, Excellent Question. Also picked on top by Kim Nelson, but not any other love anywhere else. So I think we're going to get a fair price on this one. And an 8-1 in the morning line. Nick Tamaro does the morning line at Keeneland. He's got this one pegged at 8-1. And I think we might be able to get that kind of price. The last couple races haven't been great, but the last one was at 6 furlongs at Kentucky Downs. That's not the right distance for this runner. Excellent Question, I think, improves back to a mile and a 16th, 2 for 2 over the course. And yes, it is the 12 hole. It's a difficult post position, but this horse is a drop back deep closer. I think you're going to spot several lengths, save some ground into the turn. Excellent Question should not get hung wide from out there because of the running style, dropping back to the back of the pack. I look for Excellent Question to make a rally and have a big chance in this particular spot. One of my key plays of the day. So I'm going to try to get a daily double from race 4 to race 5, 6, 12. Also in this race, the 10, Olivia Morado to be respected, as well as the 6, A Good American. Those are other horses that are picked on top by Tom and Gabby. So beyond the horse I've got at a price, I've got a couple that people are kind of locked into as well. Stylish Sue gets some play as well. So, if you're looking at this race in race number 5 and you're trying to catch yourself another price, again, this is a turf route allowance. We talked about it earlier. 28% winning favorites in turf route allowances. You want horses from Kentucky Downs. So a nice price play, an average winner of 6-1 or so in these kind of races. Excellent Question, 8-1 via Kentucky Downs with proven form over the course. And you get perennial leading jockey, top 2, top 3 jockey in the standings every meet, Tyler Gaffleon. So I'll go with the 12 there in race number 5. Let's go to the 6th race. Next up, race number 6 is going to kick off the late pick 5. Late pick 5 opens with an older allowance race here, 6 furlongs on the main track. First level, entry level allowance. If you hear that, that just means they've only won a maiden race to this point and no other allowance races to be eligible to compete here. I've got a favorite in this particular spot. Like I said, I've got 5 favorites overall on the card. You've seen me with a 20-1. You've seen an 8-1. We've got some prices here and there. But in between, I think some of the favorites in these connecting races look pretty solid. Montesino, the 2, is my top choice in here. Also the top pick for Gabby and Kim. So the right half of the handicapper selectors box in uniform. The left side's got Band for Life on top. And basically, this is a 2-9 full house. house. If you like to play poker, 3 of us with the 2, 2 with the 9, full house, deuces over 9s. The way we all kind of see that. And Montesino is the second choice for Scott and Gabby. I don't see this very creatively. Montesino is 9-5. Band for Life is 5-2. They look like the 2 horses, and I don't think we're going to see anything too crazy in this particular spot. So on the dirt, 7 furlong sprint. You're not looking for as much chaos. This race does look chalky. The one, Era Defiance, off a long layoff. We'll see what this one has. First time for Chad Summers. I threw it in third just kind of as an X factor because the horse ran so well over the track last year. Horse for course is a big deal here at Keeneland, no question about it. When you've seen a horse who's run well here at Keeneland in the past, they'll often repeat it. But we're looking for the Naira horses in these kind of races, the Churchill horses, dirt allowances. You've got the horses coming from Naira, Saratoga, Band for Life, and of course the 2 Montesina off that career debut. And nice year for Cherie DeVoe. She's really had a good season overall. She's been effective here at Keeneland as well. So not a lot of creativity there in race number 6. I think you go single or 2 deep, 2-9. You definitely don't want to go any deeper than 2. So if you're in that race 6, pick 5 that's starting here, or the second leg of the pick 6, I'd go 2 deep, take the 2 chalks. I don't think this is a great race from a gambling standpoint. And I've got a shorter price coming up in race number 7 as well. So there's not a great gamble for me from race 6 to 7. If I am going to try to connect Montesina, the favorite in race number 6, maybe try to get there with that race 5 key play, right? The 12 horse at 8-1 in the morning line. Race 5, a 12-2 daily double would be a good way to approach it as well. So try to get in and out of those key plays. But I don't have a lot of love for a big gamble in race number 6. And I'm never ashamed to say that. I always want to be honest with people, you know. I got in trouble way back in my early days as an on-track handicapper saying, this isn't a very good betting race. Save your money for somewhere later. I got summoned into the principal's office, if you will, and told never say that again on the air. But as I get older and the more I've played, it's true. And sharing things with listeners like you is, look, if you don't think a race has a chance at a nice payoff, you think it's too chalky for what you like, or you have no opinion on the race at all, sit it out, wait for another race, and there'll be better betting opportunities as the card ensues. Let's go to the 7th race. It's our first of 3 stakes races on the card. It's the Phoenix Stakes. These are potential Breeders' Cup sprint horses. Not as deep a race as we've seen some years in the past in this event. A field of 8 in the Phoenix Stakes. Favorites have won this race 6 of the last 10. And I always like to look at, how do these races profile? Because it's not necessarily about the horses when you're profiling prices in a different kind of series of races. You're profiling the betting public. Does the betting public figure these races out? And we talked about some of those races that they don't. The 2-year-old turf routes, right? With the average winner over 9-1. They don't figure those out. They figured this race out pretty good. 6 winning favorites in the last 10 years since the return to dirt. 7 of the 10 winners were 3-1 or less. I'm not looking for any big prices in this race. The public usually gets it pretty close to right. And I got Nakatomi on top in here, a horse who's run well here at Keeneland in the past. Nakatomi, my top choice again. Me and the ladies on the right side of the handicapper selectors box, all on Nakatomi in here. Tom and Scott are going different directions, but they've got Nakatomi in the mix. Comedy Town for Tom, and Banjo Chris, the top choice for Scott. But Nakatomi is a Wesley Ward trainee. He's run 5 times at Keeneland, 3 wins and a second place finish. We talk about horse for course. That's about as good as you can get here at Keeneland. Last year was the beaten favorite in this race at 5-2, but got beat by 3/4 of a length and ran a good race. Second start since going to Maidan and running 3rd in the Golden Shaheen, one of the top sprint races in the world. The comeback race in the Vanderbilt should have been a loss coming off the long layoff in the trip to Saudi or to Maidan to Dubai, and then coming back to Saratoga in the Grade 1 Vanderbilt, but was able to run down a good quality horse from Oaklawn, Skelly, in that one. I think Nakatomi likes this track, should be tough in this particular spot. Others in here, though, Hear My Song is a horse for course. I think if you're going to beat Nakatomi, Hear My Song is one you want to consider. 2 starts or 2 wins, 2 seconds from 4 starts here at Keeneland. Won the Commonwealth back in the 23 spring meet. The horse has kind of been, nibbling around the edges a little bit of late, but did win at Ellis Park this summer. 15 for 27 in the exact lifetime. No problem if you want to work Hear My Song into the mix. Federal Judge, the one, had a big win at Saratoga last time for Brad Cox. Popped a fast time, 6.5 and 16 and change as the favorite. This horse looks destined to get back to the stakes ranks. It was 4th a couple years ago ago, a year and a half ago in the Woody Stevens. So a Federal Judge is a talent in here. But give me the horse for course Nakatomi on top. Hear My Song should be the value, though, because you've got Ward, you've got Cox. You know, those two guys are going to be up at the top of the trainer standings all season long. They are every meet at Keeneland. Their horses are going to get bet. So Nakatomi's going to get bet. Federal Judge is going to get bet. The value play in the horse who may slide under the radar here in the Phoenix would be Hear My Song. I just think Hear My Song is probably the horse to run second in here. So if you're gambling on this race, the Phoenix Intra race, a 4-2 exacta, a 1-2 exacta, and go against the two favorites running 1-2 and try to get the two in there, Hear My Song, to split them up, there could be a little value in that one. But for me, it's about Nakatomi in the Phoenix Stakes. Let's go to the Jessamine Stakes next up. That is race number 8 on the card. Mile and a 16th, 2-year-old fillies in this. This is my third and final key play of the card. This is a race where some horses from off the pace have had some success in the past, but I am all over a pedigree play in this race with number 9, Totally Justified. This is my third and final key play of the day. Totally Justified, also picked on top by Tom and by Gabby, 6-1 in the morning line. Again, this is part of why we look at this handicapper selectors box, right? We mentioned 3 people have this horse picked on top, and we're 6-1 in the morning line. Do you think we're going to get 6-1? I don't know about that. After seeing Tom, Gabby, and myself all land on the same horse, if it's proportional with the rest of the public or even close to that, we're not going to see 6-1. So Totally Justified is probably going to get bet down off of that 6-1 morning line. Now you have to tell yourself, what are fair odds in my mind, right? How low will I go and bet this horse to win? I think this horse looks 7-2, 4-1 against the field. I like Totally Justified in here because of the sire Justify. Get this. Justify's had 28 horses run on the Keeneland turf so far. 6 wins, 4 seconds. 10 for 28 in the exacta. 6 for 28 in the winner's circle. Almost 25% winners. That's a strong mark. And this horse comes off a win in the P.G. Johnson Stakes at Saratoga last time. Very slow pace in the P.G. Johnson. They're going to go quicker. It should be a very firm turf course. It's a sand-based turf course at Keeneland, so it's never super duper firm. It's not like running over a putting green kind of turf course like they have at Gulfstream or at Santa Anita or Remington or even Ellis Park in the summer. But it will be firm, and they'll get over it quickly, quicker than what they saw fraction-wise in the P.G. Johnson. So I expect Totally Justified to be a little farther off the pace than he was last time, but I think he'll kick home good under Manny Franco, who comes down for the ride from New York for trainer Rusty Arnold. Now, in this race, in the Alcibiades Stakes, you also need to keep an eye on the scratches and changes here. This is where you want to make sure every morning, usually by about 10 a.m., the scratches and changes are in for the card at Keeneland, because the 14 She's Got Will and the 15 Virgin Colada, both are major factors in this race if they were able to draw in. They'll have terrible post positions because they'll be on the outside if they're able to draw in the field, but both are really talented. I would look for Mark Casse with She's Got Will to be a major factor in here. Casse's had a lot of success in the Jessamine, in the Bourbon Stakes, the 2-year-old turf races at Keeneland going back a decade. She's Got Will is a player, and Virgin Colada for trainer Chad Brown. Just ran a half length behind my top pick in this race, Totally Justified in that P.G. Johnson Stakes up at Saratoga. So those are major players. How we will gamble on this race will be determined by the win pool price, and also if those other horses that I like draw into the race. So I included them in my picks because at this time, as we handicap ahead, we don't know who will be in and who will be out in terms of the also eligibles. I will update those picks with different horses in the second and third slots in the event of scratches. You can get my picks updated again at the website at Keeneland.com. And also there will be updated picks on the screen watching the simulcast feed as my picks are published with the other public handicappers as the horses come out onto the track for each race. So in the Jessamine Stakes, though, I like the price. I like the pedigree. Give me the 9, Totally Justified. And then we're going to kind of play it by ear on how we might bet underneath. But 3-1, 7-2, 4-1 in that range. At 3-1, I might wince a little bit on the win bet. 7-2, 4-1, I'm more than happy to take that. Others picked on top in this spot: Mayday Ready, the 8 for Kim, and Sachet Away for Scott. Scott's going to get a nice price on Sachet Away, so be sure to check out today at Keeneland, 11:30 Eastern each day for Scott and Gabby's handicapping show before the races. Maybe I'll give you a good clue as to why he is on Sachet Away, who should be a pretty nice price here in the 8th race, the Jessamine Stakes. 9th race, next up on the card, it is the main event on opening day. $600,000 Grade 1 Alcibiades. Horses from Saratoga have come in and won the Alcibiades 5 of the last 6 years. So do you want to start your handicapping at Saratoga? I would say so. And Immersive comes from Saratoga for Brad Cox. This is the last of my 5 favorites that I have on the card. We thought Nakatomi is a favorite in one of the stakes. We have a decent price in the Jessamine. Now we go back to really relying on the favorite in here. Immersive's 2-1 in the morning line, and I think the horse will actually go shorter than that. If you look at the Spinaway Stakes at Saratoga last time, it was 7 furlongs, 1-turn race, rallied to win that day, and you always wonder, will a horse do the same around 2 turns that they do around 1 turn? It doesn't always translate. One of the reasons is horses lean on different legs. They have a different lead leg on the turn than they do in the straightaway. So in a 1-turn race, they only change their lead leg 1 time. In a 2-turn race, they change it twice. So are they as fit on both sides? Are they evenly distributed? They don't always have the assignment down pat yet when they haven't run around 2 turns and have been forced to make 2 lead changes in a race. So you never quite know which horse going around 1 turn to 2 will excel. But what I did like about Immersive's victory at Saratoga in the Spinaway wasn't just rallying through the wire. In the gallop out, this horse was 10-15 lengths in front of the others. She gets a rematch in here with a couple others that were in that Spinaway Stakes. Second place finisher Quiet Side, third place finisher Sherbini are back. Speaking of Quiet Side, that's the one that John Ortiz trains in here, runner-up in the Spinaway Stakes last time. Earlier this week, Tom Leach, the voice of the Wildcats, caught up with John Ortiz. He's got a 3-minute interview. Let's sit back and listen to that, and we'll come back and talk more about the featured Alcibiades.
And Ortiz has Quiet Side in the Darley Alcibiades. Tell me about the last race runner-up effort to Immersive up at Saratoga. What you liked about that race?
You know, I liked everything about it. You know, this filly showed she was game from gate to wire. You know, this is a filly that ran every single bit of the 7 furlongs, and she was up to the task. Obviously, you know, she tried really hard. You know, she just got a little tired at the end, which, you know, we had a little rain that day. Track got a little stickier, and maybe she wasn't ready for that.
Any concern about the stretch out?
No, not at all, actually. You know, I think she's bred to go 2 turns. You know, I'm very happy to have the opportunity to, you know, be in the Alcibiades yet. Once again, I think it might be my 3rd time in here. You know, and I'm really live with this filly, and I'm really happy with her.
When was it that you first thought, okay, she could be something special?
You know, it's funny because I told John Ed as soon as she came in, and Mr. Gasper as well. I said, "Hey, this filly," he's like, "That's the type of filly I like. She looks the part. She has the right attitude, and she obviously has the talent."
On the Breeders' Cup, I assume, if things go well?
Yeah, you know, we'll just play one race at a time. You know, right now we're looking to win this race at Keeneland. You know, I love winning races at Keeneland. So I feel like it's like one of my home tracks. But yeah, this race has always been on my bucket list. So, you know, I got to get it done sometime.
Why this particular race on your bucket list?
You know, Kellen Gorder had an assistant, Ollie. Oh, I forgot his last name. You're gonna have to work with me on that one. But Ollie came. He went and trained on his own in Europe, in England, and he came back and he won the Alcibiades. And I feel like it's an honor to Kellen if I could replicate the results. And you know, like I said, I grew up last 15 years at Keeneland in Lexington, and it's an honor to be in that race. And you know, coming under Kellen, I think. You know, I just like to show my everything he taught me come out in this race.
How was she trained out of that last race up at Saratoga? She's
been trained really, really well. Like, she hasn't missed a beat. Actually, you know, I always talk about sometimes when you run a 2-year-old, they could go one way or another. You know, they either draw her up a little bit or they actually get bigger, and she's the one that got a little bit bigger. So she gained some weight, muscle tone, and stronger. And she's still got that fight and that feistiness that I like about her. And you know, I'm glad I'm not the one galloping her. My brother is, and he's the one struggling with her right now. So she's ready to run.
Why do you think she moves forward off that last race, now going 2 turns for herself?
You know, she's always looked to me that after every work, she takes a step forward. So it's just, I feel like it's in her natural ability to just, you know, any natural athlete, they always take a step forward when they're pushed to their limits.
Again, thanks to John Ortiz, trainer there of Quiet Side. Tom Leach with the interview. We'll try to get some of those interviews worked in throughout the course of the season here on the Keeneland Look Ahead podcast. Quiet Side is by Malibu Moon, who also sired the winner of this race in 2017, Heavenly Rose. So there's a little pedigree there. He said, bred for the distance, Quiet Side, certainly bred by Malibu Moon, a horse who's already sired a winner of the Alcibiades. A guy who's won the Alcibiades a lot is Mark Casse. He's won it 4 times, including Wonder Wheel back in 2022 before she went on to win the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. He's got Sherbini in there. Sherbini, another one coming out of that Spinaway Stakes. Top 3 finishers in the Spinaway, 1, 2, 3, all back in here. And that's just the way I've got them lined up in the Alcibiades Stakes. Let's take a look at the picks for the other handicappers here in the Keeneland Handicapper Selectors box for the 9th and featured race. A quick kick, top pick in here. Tom Amos, trainee from Saratoga out of the maiden ranks. Top pick in here for Scott. Immersive top choice for myself and Tom. Gabby's going with Quiet Side for the aforementioned John Ortiz. And then Liam in the Dust, the horse by Liam's map. Flavian Pratt riding there for Rudy Brisset. Second place finisher in the Pocahontas Stakes. Top choice in here for Kim Nelson. So a little bit more diversity in the picks than I might have expected. I think Immersive looks like a standout in here. Everybody's got Immersive 1, 2, except one handicapper's got, Gabby's got Immersive 3rd in here. I think Immersive goes as the favorite, and I think the horse to beat to a single. I would be singling Immersive in this particular spot. I don't think the horse will get beat in this particular race. We're looking at favorites winning the Alcibiades 3 of the last 6 years, 5 of the last 6 winners coming from Saratoga. And again, Brad Cox at a mile and a 16th here at Keeneland. We talked about this before. He wins over 30% of his races entering horses at a mile and a 16th. We've already mentioned mile and a 16th races finish about a football field shorter at the first wire than going all the way through the wire. You watch Brad Cox horses re-break at the top of the stretch many times over the years. If you re-break at the top of the stretch and you've only got to get to the 16th pole finish line, it could be ball game over. And when Brad Cox has the favorite in a mile and a 16th race at Keeneland, we said he wins over 30% in all races at a mile and a 16th. When Brad Cox has the favorite in a mile and a 16th race at Keeneland, 43% winners. I don't think they're going to beat Immersive in the Alcibiades Stakes. Let's go to the 10th and final. This was almost a key race for me, and depending on how the day turns out, we might be rolling into a 4th key play of the day. The 10th and final is the final leg of the Keeneland Turf Pick 3. It'll also be that Toyota Super High 5 race. I've got 2 horses on top in this race that are 15-1 and 12-1. It's a turf sprint with a full field. I love these races. These are my favorite gambles at Keeneland. I do think one of the horses at a shorter price is really going to be tough in here, Bar Eye the 6. So that keeps me from saying I'm all in on a key play of the day, because I do think the 6 is going to be very formidable in here. But I love these power posts 3, 4, and 5 in full field turf sprints at Keeneland. They have a disproportionate amount of success for the random draw. They should win 25% of the races. They win a much stronger percentage of that, especially here in the allowance ranks. In the stakes ranks, the good horses kind of overcome some difficulties in post. But when you get allowance horses in full field turf sprints, a post advantage really shows itself off. So look for posts 3, 4, and 5, Moonlit Lady, the 4 Tambo, and the 5 Share the Blessing to be particularly strong in here. And Share the Blessing, the 5, is my top pick in here, 15-1. Great post, coming off a win at Colonial Downs last time out. That meet got stronger this year than it has been in the past. A real Churchill influence, more Kentucky horsemen there than have been in past meets at Colonial Downs. Now goes kind of second off the layoff, had not run since May prior to that. Pretty good turf sprint scene down at Fairgrounds over the winter. So this horse ran in the Fairgrounds turf sprint scene for Mike Stidham. I'm going with the 5, Share the Blessing, with a great post position, second off the layoff, and coming out of an underrated meet. Ben Curtis, the Irish jockey, he's more than capable in the saddle. He's riding Keeneland for the first time this year. Curtis rode Fairgrounds. He also rode Colonial over the winter or over the summer. He's a very capable turf jockey. So I'm going to give a shot in here for Ben Curtis to get his first Keeneland win with the 5, Share the Blessing. The other one I like in here is the 11, Amidst Waves, 12-1 in the morning line. This one coming out of a Kentucky Downs race in the Music City. Big class drop in here. Another horse who's kind of a second off the layoff, hadn't run since June prior. 12-1. You get Flavian Pratt and George Weaver. Pratt, exceptional, of course, in all types of races, but a good turf sprint jockey to be certain. and George Weaver, an excellent turf sprint trainer. So I've got 2 in there at prices 12-1 and 15-1. I know it's going to be tough to get Bar Eye the 6 completely out of there. I think I've got a lot of respect for him. And then you look at Cloudwalker, a horse who's picked on top or second by 3 of the other handicappers in here. Cloudwalker not even making my top 3 for Brendan Walsh. And this is a horse who's run well over the course, 3rd in Allowance Company, 3rd in the Mamselle over at Churchill. Cloudwalker could be effective in here. So there are a lot of different ways to go. And that's what kept me from making this a key play of the day, because I like the 5, I like the price, I like the 11, I like the price, but I'm not confident that I don't dislike the chalk, right? A lot of times when you think a race sets up for a price horse, it's because you dislike the favorites. I actually think the favorites look pretty good in here. I think Bar Eye will be a favorite and be tough. But I do like something about the long shots, and that's why I'm leaning that direction. So let's go with the 5, the 11, and the 6 and try to make a little bingo and magic to wrap up the card in race number 10, the finale for opening day. That will do it for tonight's Keeneland Look Ahead podcast. A couple other places where you can get some information. Go to Keeneland.com to get my daily handicapping stats and trends. I will also send those stats and trends and picks out each day on Substack. If you're familiar with Substack, go to jeremyplonk.substack.com. Sign up free. It just comes into your email inbox, and you'll get my stats and trends sent to you for each racing day of the season. Also, some handicapping that's not Keeneland related also trickles in through there. So if you're a simulcast player, an ADW player around the country, you get on Substack, you'll get information all year long. No charge for Substack, just handicapping information sent to you each and every week, sometimes a couple times a week. And here during the Keeneland meet, it'll be daily for all of the big Keeneland races and all the full cards. Reminder that the Keeneland Look Ahead returns tomorrow night, 8:30 Eastern. On the Friday night show, we will preview Fall Star Saturday. What a Saturday lining up this weekend. 2 Breeders' Cup champions are in the entries for this weekend at Keeneland. Last year's Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint winner, No Balls, runs Saturday in the Woodford, the Turf Sprint. And then on Sunday, the defending champion in the Breeders' Cup Distaff, the champion older mare from last year, Idiomatic, is back to defend her title in the Spinster. So we've got Breeders' Cup champions coming up Saturday and Sunday, but not before we get through opening day. I've got some favorites. I've got some prices. They're sprinkled in. We avoid the bad bets. We go in extra on the ones that look like they're offering good value, and hopefully we'll have a big day on Friday. We will talk to you tomorrow night at 8:30. Until then, have a great night, everybody.